believe it's time for another computer video. About what, you might be asking? There's probably no shortage worth of computers to make a video of, sitting around here. But we're going to focus on this down here, because I think that it's probably about time that I did so. And I'm kind of curious if it actually works. So let's get it out of its hiding place and see what we have. Alright, so what we have here is a massive, and I do mean that, like this thing is positively huge and very heavy, rack mount case. And as you can see, it says ASTARTE on it. I have no idea what that means. It's got one of these dual floppy, both 5 1/4 and 3 1/2 inch. So it's a 24-speed creative CD-ROM drive. Button there, power switch, a serial port, and a 5-pin DIN connector. So what could this possibly be? Well, this is, as previously mentioned, a positively massive that I am now shoving I don't even know how many years worth of dirt, I don't know what that came from, off onto my floor. I probably shouldn't do that, but, you know, that's what we have a mop for. I'll just put the Swiffer, use the Swiffer on it. Anyway, this thing is a, I'm going to call it a 4U, but it might be a 5U. Rack mount 486. But not just any 486. The story behind this is that it was cast off, oh, look at this. That looks very safe. Because I imagine that that's line connected, and yeah, that's wonderful. I didn't even notice that until now. The story is that this was cast off by the astronomy department at the University of Rochester a long time ago, and it was picked up by YouTube user If You Like Good Ideas, sat around in his foyer closet for a long time, and then ended up coming to me when he moved, and has now sat in my foyer underneath the server rack for a long time. Well, only about a year, but I figure I should probably actually do something with it. Maybe look at it. This is a PS2 to serial adapter, or serial to PS2. I can never get it straight what direction comes first when you're referring to these, but I'm going to leave that there. Maybe handy for like a PS2 mouse or something. Not that I really think I have much of a use for something like this. It's really too big to use for much in the way of practical purposes now, and I'm sure it uses a lot of power, but I guess we could find out in this video whether that's true. One interesting thing I see on the back of this right away, other than this very safe fan, are these two connectors right here. I haven't counted the pins in them, but it looks like they might be SCSI. Like external SCSI connections. So I don't know, maybe this went to like some kind of an external, very primitive box of hard drives in like some kind of RAID array or something. Kinda would have been nice to get that, but I don't know, it's probably long gone now. It probably had a lot more in the way of expansion cards too, with all the empty slots in the back. There's a sound card. There's something, I have no idea what that is. Looks like a network card of some description. I/O card. It's VGA. And I don't know what that is. It's not serial. Maybe TTL monitor output? I don't know. I did go ahead and put feet on the bottom of this. So there's, I don't think they're cork. They're like some kind of fuzzy material, like the same kind of thing that you'd probably see on like a pool table. kind of deal. But what makes this interesting is not the fact that it's a 486. I gotta figure out where all the screws are to get this cover off. I think I might be missing a couple screws, to be honest. I think it's missing more than a couple of screws. I think there's only one screw holding the entire cover on. In fact, no, there's no screws holding the cover on at all. This is what makes this thing so special. This has a linear power supply in it. And I don't know about this material. I don't know what this is supposed to be. But I hope it's not flammable, that's for sure. Taking a look in here, oh, there's something else I see that's maybe a little bit less than safe. I imagine that that could probably arc flash. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of exposed 120 volt crap in this. It's got a nice array of capacitors though. Of course, it would almost have to for something like this. So, let's see, what have we got in here? Well, we have a quantum suck ball. At first I thought this was a quantum blow drive, but no, it's a quantum suck ball. And yes, that's what I said, and it's what I meant. These drives are terrible. This machine originally had a Western Digital caviar in it that was suffering from stiction, from what I remember, and I don't know, I think I would have kept the Western Digital, because even if it's suffering from stiction, it's a darn sight better than one of these. These are really terrible drives. And as unreliable as these old quantum drives got to be in their later years, the lineup was sold to Maxter. Wasn't that just fitting? But underneath that, there's a floppy drive. There's the one floppy drive, and of course there's the IDE ribbon that's going into the motherboard. All that looks like it's going into the motherboard. So what is this? What is this connector? Where is that going? Well, that connector is going into here. I have no idea. Looks like a relay of some kind. A relay for what? I'm not sure. Maybe external power? Turn on the power to the external thingy that this would have been connected to? I don't know. If it had a SCSI card in it, it's long gone. Who made this motherboard? What is this motherboard? Macronix Computers. There's a name you won't see anymore. Well, it looks like it's got an Intel chipset. That's the rest of the floppy connector. Yeah, I don't know. Macronix motherboard. I have never actually seen one of those. Some ancillary chips down there. I don't have a video light to work with, so I'm just working with whatever light I've got. What is that? Intel Overdrive DX2 ODP-R66. So that is a DX266 Intel Overdrive chip. It is not a Pentium Overdrive. There is a difference. This is what they call a 486 Overdrive, designed for a system that would have taken only a 33 megahertz CPU and that could not be clock doubled natively. It would allow you to run a clock doubled chip, is what that was for. They came in, I believe, 66 and 100 megahertz parts. The DX4 ODPR 100 would have been the other option. You can see that there is an extra row of pins, and that would have been indeed for a Pentium Overdrive that this doesn't have. It would be nice to find one of those someday, but given the rarity of systems like that, I don't know that I'll ever find one. I've never actually had a Pentium Overdrive. I'll be honest with you, I've never used one. I might have seen one or two in the past, but I've never owned one. Here's a video card. ATI. It's a 3D Rage 2 Plus. That was probably something back when this thing would have been new, but of course now it's completely worthless. And check that out. Made in Canada. It's come full circle. I imagine that's probably a video memory expansion that's on that. It is a PCI card. How many PCI slots does this have? Does it have... Yeah, it's got more than one. Looks like it's got 3 PCI and 6 ISA, one of which was a combination slot. You could either use ISA or PCI, but you could not use both. Pretty standard stuff for the time period. And then check this out. We have a little expansion breakout here, which is going to even more slots. 2 16-bit ISA and 2 8-bit. I'm not really sure what someone would have been doing with this that would have needed all those slots, but I don't know. And I guess I'll never know, because again, it doesn't have the original hard drive anymore, and even if it did, I'm sure it would have been wiped. There's a couple of chopper transistors back there, part of the regulation, no doubt. This was kind of bent. Not really sure how I feel about that. Yeah, those are kind of loose. There's a lot of aspects of this thing's design that really just are not filling me with a whole lot of confidence, but that is probably the big one. Like, what the heck were they thinking with that? Wowee. Well, you only live once, and I like to live life dangerously. I'm not really sure what kind of RAM that is, just that it probably could be upgraded. But if the thing actually works, and I don't imagine that it doesn't, but if it does work, we're going to find out just how much RAM it does have, how much noise this thing is going to make, how much power it's going to use, and what it happens to do. I am, however, going to put the cover back on this thing, so that way if it is going to explode, at least it won't explode in my face. Alright, I believe we are now in shape fit to power up. Or you can see the feet that I was talking about. It probably is closer to a cork substance than anything else, but felt, that's the material I was thinking of. I haven't plugged in a keyboard yet, because if it is going to explode, I'd rather not blow up a keyboard. Especially not a 5-pin DIN one, because those are getting harder to find. Yeah, let's see what happens. This really does not fill me with confidence. It kind of makes you wonder what they were thinking when they designed it. Or if they were thinking at all, and unfortunately, it seems like it's all too common. That when designing things, you know, they really weren't thinking. Here goes nothing. Now it's on. I'm not using a whole lot of power. Here it comes. ATI Mount 64, Phoenix BIOS, A486, yuck. 486DX2, operating at 66 megahertz. How much RAM do we have? 82, 83. Well, it doesn't use as much power as I thought. Looks like about 48 megabytes of RAM. Oh, beep yourself. Diskette drive B failure. Well, obviously the battery is no good. I'm gonna hook up a keyboard. Since I now know that it works, and it isn't going to explode, I'm gonna hook up a keyboard, and we'll see what happens. I did forget that I had an adapter here, so I could have plugged in the keyboard and not had to use my Model M keyboard, which, yes, if you're wondering, that's why I didn't plug it in right away, because I really don't want to blow that up. Let's see if it'll actually work with this, though, before I get too far ahead of myself. Okay, video time. It's probably about to tell me that there was a keyboard error. Oh, there wasn't. Wow, impressive. I will want to go into setup, and I'm going to hope that this isn't one of these stupid A486 things that needs a good battery in order to save its settings, but that was a big problem with these, among other things. They just behaved very weird. Never had good luck with those. Always had nothing but problems. Right. F2 to run setup. F2 to run setup. F2 to run... I guess it's not working. Okay, fine. Well, that's dumb. that was the mouse, not the keyboard. No wonder it didn't work, although I'm surprised it didn't give me an error message. There we go. Third time is always the charm. It looks like this would actually be... You could disconnect that? I don't know. You know, I really hate these A486 things. They're not good. they're not. I've had so many problems with them in different systems over the years. Just weird issues that you should not have, like IRQ conflicts that don't exist because you've removed all the cards already. All kinds of weird stuff like that. Well, believe it or not, that's actually not too far off of reality. Today is the 17th, it's 2:25. But, yeah, I don't know... Oh, right. 2:25, August 17th. That should be correct, so I'm not sure. Maybe there is something wrong with this drive. 1.2 megabytes, yeah, looks about correct. Everything else there looks fine. Device select, slot 0. What is that supposed to mean? Enable device, enable master. I have no idea what any of that means, so I'm going to ignore it. That looks fine. ROM shadowing is enabled. That was a way, because ROMs are nominally 8 bits wide, shadowing your ROM was a way to make it easier and faster to access it. There's some software that didn't really get along with that, so... You don't really get very many options. I imagine that this is standard and that this is bi-directional. Maybe I'll set it. I don't know that it'll make a difference. Swap floppies. I'll go ahead and I'll set that to swapped and see what difference it makes. I don't think it'll make a difference because that drive itself should handle that. Okay. Save values and exit and see what happens. Does this eject? It does. Cool. Now my question is, does the floppy drive get detected at all? Or is that where our problem is? It's not getting hot or anything like that. Nope, now we have diskette drive A failure. Oops, Microsoft Windows 98. I'm surprised that Quantum Drive actually works because, again, they're really just well known for failing and being stupid in all kinds of other ways. I probably should have plugged in a mouse. You know, I have the mouse. Of course, it's tangled in amongst all this crap. I don't think I can hot plug it because it is a serial device, but well, maybe I'll try it. Wonder if it's going to go any further. It's just kind of sitting there. Yeah, it's a Windows 98-ism, that's for sure. Okay, Windows did not detect a mouse. Well, I hot-plugged a PS2 mouse into that adapter, but that doesn't seem to have helped. So either the mouse is dead, or I'm going to have to reboot the machine in order for it to be detected. But that's fine. And it's farting around for an eternity, trying to figure anything out. Or maybe it just locked up. I don't know. It is trying to do something. I have no idea who that is. I don't suppose the password's blank. Nope. But of course, Windows 98 has got top-notch security. I'm going to try and install my plug-and-play monitor. Maybe I'll let it do it so it doesn't ask me that question every time. What's it going to do now? Retrozilla. Looks like an old version of Mozilla. Yeah, the mouse is not detected. So what I think I'm going to do is I've started it up. Does it really have anything on it? No, not really. Something from the USA Today and Retrozilla, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and reboot this. Yeah, okay, that's odd. Apparently the machine doesn't really directly support the floppy drive. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to have to look into that because there might be something that I need to do in order to make that work correctly. Yeah, there's not really much on this drive. I'm going to go ahead and reboot it. Yeah, it uses less than 100 watts though, it looks like. It's not bad, really, all things considered. Of course, the number of practical things that you can do with a 486 in this day and age are just really kind of dwindling because lots of software requires 64-bit now. And even if they don't, they require instructions. Oh, now it says the configuration information is invalid. Well, I don't really care. I'm gonna have to look at that floppy and see if I can figure out what's wrong with it, or maybe I'll just pull it and put like a 3.5 inch in there. I haven't decided yet. Again, Windows 98 is farting around doing absolutely nothing when it should be starting into the graphical operating system. No, Windows did not detect a mouse, so clearly it doesn't like that. Here we are farting around again. I just love that when Windows 98 decides that it's going to take forever to do something very simple. Let's see if the sound actually works. I mean, it does. It's nice of it. But I gotta do something about the fact that this mouse is completely dead. Now, I rebooted the machine after plugging in the serial mouse. This is a Serial Mouse 2.0A that I didn't realize I had, and that's working just fine. I had to try it. It's maybe a little loud for almost 3 o'clock in the morning, but you know, who cares? I can't imagine there's very much on this machine, if anything, really. Certainly nothing of real interest. Yeah, not really much of anything here. We'll be kind of curious if this does anything. Oops! Well, I guess that does not work at all. Well, that's a shame. Oh well. See if anything actually works. Our usage really isn't all that bad, honestly. For what it is. What is happening? Is it doing anything? I wonder if maybe this BIOS doesn't actually support this floppy drive, because I think it uses one connector for both drives, and it is possible that it doesn't like that. This is taking a long time to load. It's not really going to do anything because there's no network connection on this. That'd be kind of kinky. I could probably connect it to my network, but I think I'll skip on that. if there's anything in the history. It might not be. It's not anything that's useful. Older than 6 days, it says. Are you serious? Really? Why would you do that? 2018. Yeah, that just seems like such a bad idea, but... I wonder if that USA Today thing would actually start from the program menu. No, it seems to be just kind of broken. Yeah, you need the CD. That's kind of pointless. Creative CD 2422E, standard. Shows up as a generic disk type. ATI Rage 2 Plus, PCI. Network adapter. Etherlink 3 ISA. Internet connection sharing. Some of the other devices here. A couple of unsupported devices, apparently. And for audio, Creative Sound Blaster 16 plug and play. It's pretty standard stuff. Nothing really exciting there. Nothing really exciting to see. Your system is configured for optimal performance, which basically means that we are not running any DOS-based drivers or real mode drivers. And that's certainly fun. I wonder if there's any junk in Idiot Exploiter. Probably not. What version is this? Is this still 4.0 or is this like 5 or something? It's detecting my proxy settings. Yeah, good luck with that. This is... Once it gets its head out of its rear end and figures out that I want to look at the About dialogue. Well, I did, after a fashion, finally figure out what I wanted to do. And it's Internet Explorer 5 with a cipher strength of 40 bits. Wowie, up to date, baby. Anything in the history here? No, doesn't look like it. Yeah, looks like nothing. So, unsurprising that. Who wants to use that crappy browser anyway? What do we actually have on here? Do we have any good games? Yeah, it does a Minesweeper at least, but not much else. I want some sound, so I'm gonna go ahead and open that, which will scare the crap out of me. Being a crappy speaker bar underneath the monitor, those actually don't sound too bad for, well, test speakers. I wouldn't want to be listening to them on a regular basis, but they work, and so too does the machine itself. So, what's going to happen with it? Well, obviously I'm going to have to figure out the floppy drive situation, but that's one thing. Otherwise, I'm not sure what's going to happen with it. Maybe it'll do something practical, maybe it won't. Kind of interesting. This KVM switch would, in theory, support it natively, because it does have connections for 5-pin DIN and serial. But I don't know if you could use those. Have the PS2. You might have to have the corresponding devices plugged into the back of that. I don't know. Some KVM switches don't let you mix like that, but maybe this one does. I don't know. For right now, though, I'm going to shut this down. We now know what that ASTARTE thing is and what it's running. I would like to thank you for watching. And if you have any comments, certainly do feel free to leave them down below. What, no ta-da? Apparently not. And no, obviously being an AT system, this does not support soft power on, so you get this message.